you. There are 3 parties in conference, including you.
And the State Data Center lead agency, in partnership with the U.S. Census Bureau, is under the supervision of the Arizona State Demographer's Office. And I would like to welcome all of you to the Arizona State Data Center virtual annual meeting. The Arizona State Data Center is a member network of state and local government organizations, which include state agencies, state and local libraries, councils of governments, and local government planning agencies who use and promote the use of U.S. Census Bureau data in their service areas. Our meeting is held annually, usually in September, for members of the Arizona State Data Center Network, and we have traditionally invited census data users associated with our network throughout our state as well. This meeting is normally held in person. However, because of the circumstances surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic emergency, we've elected to have a virtual meeting this year. So for today's session, we will have 3 presentations. We will have the 2020 Decennial Census Update with Ms. Pauline Núñez, who is the Partnership Coordinator for the Denver-Dallas Regional Census Center. Following Ms. Núñez is Mr. Eric Coyle, who serves as our Census Data Dissemination Specialist for our state, and he will present our Census Product Update. And then after we take a 10-minute break, we will have Ms. Pauline Núñez, who is Chief Dissemination Outreach Branch for the Center for Enterprise Dissemination, and she will present our update on the data.census.gov and using the microdata access tool. This is a 2-day session meeting that we will have this time from 9 to 11:15 on today and tomorrow. We will have other presenters to look at the economic side of census data. So before we get started with our first presentation, we want to remind you first of our evaluation form, which were distributed with your access information. We had 3 different formats, so please choose one that works for your system. And we would really appreciate your evaluation and comments to help with improvement of our meetings in the future. And finally, we would ask that you make sure that your phones are on mute while presenters are speaking. And we also ask that you not put your phones on hold if you're, in your office, because a lot of those hold systems have that system music, and it will interrupt the meeting. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, Ms. Pauline Núñez, who is the Partnership Coordinator for the Denver-Dallas Regional Census Center, will do our 2020 Decennial Census Update. Pauline, take it away.
Thank you very much, Alan. And hello, Arizona. I'm also used to seeing you all sitting around a round table or whatever at MAG. So thank you, Alan and Barbara, for coordinating this effort so that we can still have a meeting for the State Data Center, which is a very good partner of ours. So my first slide has kind of a nostalgic image where when we started with the road to 2020, we used that little image of all over the place, count everyone once in the right place, and once and only once. And so that mission has not changed. We are still working on it. We're still enumerating. We're still doing self-response. And so, but I thought I'd throw just a nostalgic image to how we started as far as the road to 2020, because I know that I, with the director and deputy regional director, toured all the 12 states, including Arizona, to meet with all the governors as we began the road to 2020. Today I'm going to talk about the final stages of operations, media promotion, and outreach, and I have allowed time for questions at the end. So if I can have the first slide. So I kind of crowded the Arizona response rate here in showing what the national self-response. Now, this was as of, I think, Sunday when I did this because I've been in meetings since. So it probably is kind of a little bit higher for the different counties as well as for national and Arizona self-response. But I figured in the last 2 days, maybe not as much. But you can see the challenge that we have in Arizona. And then on the left, you have Arizona. I wanted to show you what the ranking of Arizona within the state, the United States, and it ranks at 31st in the states of 50, at 62.5%. The national self-response, again, this is on Sunday that I created this, was 65.7. And then you'll see on the next slide, so there's the ranking. So who has... Hello, this is Pauline again.
Okay.
Is everybody back? We had that static thing going.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Wow.
I just redialed.
Okay.
The challenges of virtual continue. So I'll continue, Alan, if that's okay.
Yes, please. If everyone can hear, okay. That sounds we're okay. Okay.
So then the chart here on the left is a ranking in the counties of Arizona. So you can see who has the highest self-response rate, and that's 66.5, no surprise, in Maricopa County, down to Apache, which is at 22.0%. And also the map, the counties aren't outlined, but you can see also on the map, the browner the county, lower the self-response. And, of course, the bluer the county, the higher the self-response. And the challenges, of course, as you all very well know, in Arizona, the rural communities with tribal nations. We are on the border with Arizona and Mexico, and we have had a lot of movement. Besides, I'm not even mentioning COVID, okay? But besides COVID, let's put that one for aside. But the other challenges is just the geography, the changes as far as within our homeless counts with different people movement, the extreme heat this summer. So there's been many challenges for this 2020 census. Next slide, please. So I wanted to mention that there's something that we have done that we have usually not done, and this is located on, and I have the reference here at the. Okay, thank you. I was muted for a minute. Sorry. So as I was saying, can everybody hear me? Alan?
I can hear you, Pauline.
Good. Okay, because there was a mute on, and I thought, oops. So one thing that we have done, that we have not done, is we posted on a daily basis the percentage of the enumerated and non-response follow-up so that you can see, and this was, again, the report date was of 9/13/2020, which is Sunday, was Arizona was self-responded 62.5, And then where we weren't as far as enumeration and non-response follow-up was 22.4, and total enumerated is 84.9. Bear in mind that the self-response is recorded. If someone comes at your door and that's the way you respond to the 2020 census, then you'll fall into the enumerated and non-response follow-up. The self-response is still going on, and you can still respond by phone, by mail, and of course by internet. So that has helped people track how things are going, and this is only available on a state level. And I know a lot of counties have asked us, do we have it on the county, but we do not. Next slide. So our timeline, oh my goodness. This is constantly, as you all know who have kept up with us on 2020census.gov, we have had to make historical changes to the 2020 census because of COVID-19. And so, as you can see here, an update was the mobile questionnaire assistance sites, which are what mobile questionnaire assistance sites, a little history, is that Congress actually allocated more funds because it was a different mindset than in 2010. In 2010, we set up the counted sites, QUAC sites, which are questionnaire assistance sites, throughout the communities. However, people had to go to fill out their paper questionnaire. Remember the paper? In this case, Congress said, no, Census Bureau, we want you to go to the people. So initially, the plan was, again, before COVID, was that we would go to wherever, even if it was in a week's time, we would go to wherever people were. We have carried out that spirit in that it's not festivals, it's not libraries or whatever. Because of COVID, we actually have our partnership specialists and our response assistants have been in food cities, have been in food drives, have been at libraries when they're open. So we still have gone to where the public is, but it's just been in a different venue and in a safe venue where social distancing and masking is allowed. So it's really changed our game plan as far as the MQAs. And we have also done virtual, where we have actually last night in Albuquerque, New Mexico, their TV stations had people, and we had some partnership specialists and RAs answering the phone, helping people fill out their questionnaires. So we've done all kinds of creative things to help people fill out their questionnaires. In Phoenix, I know we had a very successful campaign with Univision, where we were, I think we tried it about 3 times, starting from May and then August, is where we actually had people call in. The talent of Univision would be promoting it from 5 to 7, and we had about 200 calls, and we filled out about 60% of those were people who needed their questionnaire filled out. So we've had to be very nimble and very creative to help fill out questionnaires on a mobile questionnaire assistance. So non-response follow-up, we started on August 7th, and then we are going to keep continuing. We've had various challenges there because if you can imagine going door to door, not really door to door, especially in Arizona rural areas, to the door to maybe ranch, to over here over the hills to another ranch. We have had numerous challenges, one being, for example, tribal nations like San Carlos have not opened, or also the White Apache has still not opened, so we still have not been able to get to do the non-response follow-up. We have begun our enumeration of transitory locations, marinas, hotels, and that the difference between that and the service-based enumeration is you have to pay to stay to be part of the transitory location enumeration. And then we will start our historic count of the homeless the 22nd to 24th. We will do a post-enumeration survey that will also be a quality check. And then we still, to this day, are going to go to the counts to the president on December 31st. And again, I have cited that on my slide. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to go ahead and be very transparent and put out there, we do have this on our website, and that does, the federal court order of course, will influence. As you saw, I did not put a September 30th on our timeline because it will all depend on what happens on Thursday on the hearing. I just wanted to put that out there, and also it is located on census.gov to read over, but that will influence what will be our end date. Next slide. But I think the message from that, can we go to the next slide, Ellen? I just wanted to point out something on this slide since we have it out there, is that enumeration is continuing. Our MQI sites, we have not stopped at all. Our gas pedals, the pedal to the metal is on for all of us working on the 2020 census. May I have the next slide, Ellen? I don't know if you can hear me.
Hello, I'm back. I got cut off.
Oh, okay. Can I have the next slide?
You ready for the next slide? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay. I know I'm your guinea pig for the rest of the presenters. So one thing that's been also changing, of course, is our media campaign update. If you have not seen one of our ads, you probably don't watch TV, because we have had a lot of advertisements aimed at increasing online response to the 2020 census while much of the nation remains at home practicing social distancing. We have increased social media, radio, digital, print has all been increased in different areas of the United States. And we have been also careful to illustrate how a enumerator will come to your door, that we are practicing social distancing, we are wearing a mask, we cannot go into someone's home. So we wanted to reassure the public that we care about their safety as well as our staff. And also I might mention that there have been a robust media campaign in Maricopa County area, and Pima County, and throughout the state that has really tried to coordinate with our efforts. So I have found that very well received. Next slide. So I mentioned the mobile questionnaire assistance, and so the program that I oversee for Maricopa County is called CPEP, the Community Partnership and Engagement Program. We are the outreach people, and this is some of the things that I had mentioned before, but we have continued to go where people are at. We've also worked with state agencies, of course, very closely with the governor, state CCC, as well as the municipalities. And I have a little picture of like the Department of Transportation where they've been doing signage for us. They've also, different agencies like the lottery, the Arizona Lottery has posted on their 3,000 machines to respond now. So we've had a lot of cooperation in Arizona from the governor's office to the state agencies, Department of Education, have all pulled together to encourage Arizonans to get the count out. But I'm going to say that for our partnership specialists, as well as our response and as well as our numerators, the heat has been a tremendous challenge this summer because, you know, we were supposed to finish July 31st. You remember that date? And I have had staff that have been very close to a heat stroke, but they've been out there at food drives asking people to fill out their questionnaire. And I'm very proud of our staff there in Arizona that they have just persevered and tried to get as many people as possible because we believe every interview counts. Next. So this is just a sample of our social media. So skip the visit. That's one of the ways that we have another one that just came out yesterday about Respond Now. So we've been really trying to encourage in these last days of the campaign to respond now. Don't wait. It's time to respond for Arizona's future. So, and we've, done different tactics. One was skip the visit. If there's been another one that said stop the knock. And we've notice that people, when I've been out there with folks, like I was at a Food City on Saturday there in Phoenix, and many had an enumerator come to their door and said, oh, yeah, I filled it out with them. Or they said, well, I didn't fill it out for them, and they were willing to go ahead and fill it out so the enumerator would not come to their door. Next. So I wanted to also talk about how we are approaching enumeration. And so this is what an enumerator should look like. They should have a bag. They should have a badge with a photo ID and as well as a mask. And they should never go to someone's door, and they should maintain social distance. And what's also new, there's so many things that are new, but one of the things is this is all electronic. They do not fill out a paper questionnaire. You can see the phone in her hand that shows how she's filling out the questionnaire for the respondent. Next. So if we don't find you at home, we do put the notice of visit, and the enumerator, it's in Spanish and English. The enumerator in that little gray part there should put in their ID number, because we always, even though they have a city-style address, which is easier to locate, but it's always easier if you do have that ID number there. And if they say, oh, okay, I'll just go ahead and go online, or I'll call, and if they have the ID number, that is just a better way to log in their questionnaire, and we can find them and log it. Next. And so one of the things that happened early on was that we did get a joint statement from the Census Bureau and the Centers for Disease Control that it was safe to answer the census. And so we put out these recommendations based on the CDC, which was wearing a face mask. Masks will be provided upon. We do carry masks with us as enumerators. We maintain social distance, practice hand hygiene. They also have a sanitizer. We do not enter homes. If you do enter a home, unfortunately, we will have to let you go, because that is not following policy. And then we conduct interviews outside as much as possible or practical. And we also, the other thing is important is that we do monitor. I have gotten some complaints from about enumerators not wearing masks, and so we do handle those with the ACOs working in conjunction with us, that we are looking very closely whenever we hear about enumerators not wearing masks, people complain, we follow up on that immediately, because this is the health and safety guidelines that they must adhere to. And the next slide. So this goes over how you identify a census worker. This is really important when we have given briefings to all the 9 congressional districts in Arizona. They get calls about someone's at my door, whatever. So we are very clear of how do we identify a census worker, that they have a bag, they have their phone, they also have, for the first time, they have a photo ID. Next. And then basically our message is the time to respond is now. And you still can respond. You can go online, you can call us, or you can mail back your questionnaire, which people, of course, most Americans are filling out the questionnaire by internet. The second most popular is paper. There are those paper aficionados out there. And the third is the phone. I thought we would get more response from the phone, but actually that's the third way. So that's all I have. If we have time for questions, Alan?
Yeah, we have just a few minutes. So if you have a question for Pauline, I believe you can just take your phone off mute.
And I don't know if there's been questions in chat either. Alan, while I'm waiting for questions. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, if anyone has a question, I believe you can just take your phone off mute and speak up. I don't think we have an operator assist on this.
We haven't muted all, have we? That they have to press star 4. I did want to say that what's next for us, our outreach team, the partnership CPEP, will be ending next week. We will still be having MQAs until the 30th of September. And then as we go forward, we will be having a robust thank you campaign for those partners who helped make the 2020 census a success in Arizona. And then we will also be launching the data presentations or whatever early 2021.
Oh. Okay.
And one other thing that's happening in Phoenix is that on Thursday, September 17th, the Census Bureau Director, Stephen Dillingham, Dr. Stephen Dillingham, will be visiting Phoenix. He is meeting with the governor, as well as will be at an MQA site in the morning, and then be at the ACOs briefly. So that's exciting for Phoenix. So we will be moving forward, and I'll be there to get them around to different places. So thank you, Alan, and thank you all from the State Data Center Network. Really appreciate your always coming together.
Okay, thank you
Alan,
very much.
can I ask a question? This is Jim.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, Pauline, we heard that the Census Bureau has been flying in people from out of state to help us enumerate. We heard we are losing some enumerators. Do you have more details on that, how many people are coming and how much help we are getting?
Yes. Yes, I do, Jim. How are you doing? So,
good, thank you.
As of last week, we have flown in people from both California as well as Alaska to help out with the non-response follow-up in Arizona. We have still hired people because to make sure that we have as many Arizonans. But as you can imagine, it has been a challenge to hire people to do this work. So we have had to rely on what we call strike teams to help out and supplement the efforts that are being done here, because they are expected to meet certain goals. And so to meet those goals, we have flown in other people to go throughout the state.
Thank you for doing that.
That is your question? Sure.
Okay. And if anyone else has a question or weren't able to get in their question, please feel free to contact me. You should have my contact information on your access information email, and I can get you in contact with any of our presenters. So if you come up with a question that you think about later or whatever, you can contact me and I can get your question to our presenters. Okay, I'll stop sharing here. Okay, so for
Thank
our next, thank you, Pauline. Yes, thank you very much, Pauline. And we really appreciate you being able to come and give us that update. Our next presenter is, as I said earlier, is going to be Mr. Eric Coyle. He is our state's data dissemination specialist. Eric, are you able to get in and
Yeah, it doesn't look like, what I'm going to need to do is, because it doesn't look like I can share a file. Let me go ahead and send you my presentation, and then I guess you're going to have to run it for me. Okay. And I'll send it to you right quick.
Videos are hard, yeah. Hi, I'm Ian. I was at Alan's annual meeting, the Census Bureau presentation, and I'm hoping to get back as soon as possible.
Hey, Jim, I wanted to let you know the census came to the door and they asked about the neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
So they came to the door and they were asking about the neighbors.
Loading down.
Well, that's part of an operation. They try to go to the door, and if they go there like 4 or 5 times, nobody is there, or they don't want to answer, they will go to the neighbor and try to ask the question.
Okay, I just sent it over to you.
They ask like question by question.
Okay, I'll.
Are there? Do you know
Once I get it.
The race and everything?
Yes, they did, and then because nobody was there, well, the neighbors had moved recently, and then they asked if we knew the information about the neighbors, just like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was telling Sean about this yesterday. That's the last resort they're going to use.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
But I was unsure. I gave the information I knew, and
yeah, you are not expected to know all the exact information, their birthday and everything. But I think they will ask, but you'll do your best to get the information to them.
Yeah, I just mentioned so
Okay.
Yeah, they are. The census workers are not allowed to enter your house. So you had to stand outside for like 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
419.
Okay, Eric, I think we're up and ready to go.
All right. Lauren's going to join us in a minute or so. I don't see Frank.
Eric, can you hear me?
Anybody else?
Dennis?
Dennis is on.
Oh, my gosh, he's right there. Allison. I think it's the way everybody's thinking.
I am responsible for conducting outreach via webinars, used to be in-person workshops, trainings for teaching people how to access census data.
Do you remember Carmela Aja?
Can I interrupt you just for a second? Can you hear me?
Oh, she was funny. She was like this really sort of very vivacious personality. She used to describe Tuesday as Monday's wicked little.
Mute as we're hearing other people speaking.
Sandra, do you want to kick us off?
If you're listening, yeah, please put your phone on mute because we can hear your phone. We don't want to hear any, confidential conversations or anything.
Morning, Lauren.
I think it's someone from the ACA, maybe, that has their phone on. They don't have their phone on mute. Please put your phone on mute. Okay. Okay. Can we try to start again, Eric?
Sure, no problem. So I'll just go through, and hopefully you all can hear me. Just I'll try to talk over the background noise, unfortunately, that we're picking up. So if you want to go ahead and jump on to the next slide.
Let's see. Oops. There we go.
I'm just covering the agenda, what we'll be talking about today. There's going to be a lot more products that you're going to learn about in terms of like data.census.gov, our pulse survey, household and business pulse survey. We also have the COVID-19 hub. Andy Hate's going to talk about that, I believe, either later today or tomorrow. So either way, you're going to get more information on additional products. I'm just going to cover some of the more recent products, especially today with the current population survey annual social economic supplement, or known as the CPS ASEC. That has just been released today. We just had a webinar this morning, the press release webinar announcement for the CPS ASEC that was just held this morning, and all the additional data is released. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide, Alan. So when you get a copy of this presentation, I highly recommend first just clicking on that link. It'll take you to the press kit. Lots of information is going to be there. If you look at the press kit, you'll find that you'll see the news release is in English and in Spanish. We've got 3 new blogs that have just been released in regard to the ASEC. And there's also 5 America Count stories on the findings. So there's going to be lots of information. There's new graphics. There's social media content, sound bites, fact sheets. So tons of information is there in the press kit. Additionally, you'll find the presentation from that presentation. So you'll get everything you need to know, links to everything. I'm going to focus on a couple of the key highlights. So if you want to go to the next slide. So the Income and Poverty Report and the Supplemental Poverty Measure reports are based on data from the Current Population Survey, the CPS ASEC. And the CPS is the longest running survey conducted by the Census Bureau and is actually the official source of the national poverty estimates. So if you guys are wondering how old is it, it is the oldest, longest running survey. It goes back to about 1940, 42, and it's had some iterations, really came into its own around 1948. And so that is officially the oldest survey that we have from the Census Bureau. Next slide. So these are just kind of showing some of the highlights. As you can see here, that one of the main things to notice is that median household income in 2019 reported 68,700, and that was a 6.8% increase from 2018. So that was a pretty significant increase from 2018 in terms of that median household income. And then the real median earnings, all workers increased 1.4%. Between 2018 and 2019, and between 2018 and 2019, the total number of people with earnings increased by about 2.2 million. The number of full-time year-round workers increased by approximately 1.2 million. Next slide. So the official poverty rate in 2019 was 10.5%, and that's down 1.3 percentage points from 2018. And in 2019, there were 34 million people in poverty, which is a decrease of 4.2 million people from 2018. So between 2018 and 2019, poverty rates declined for most demographic groups. In fact, no group saw an increase in poverty rates. Poverty rates declined for men and women, for native-born and foreign-born, all regions, and inside and outside metropolitan statistical areas. So that's a very significant thing to note in regard to the poverty rate for all groups. Next slide. So if you're not aware, the SPM report is the Supplemental Poverty Measure report is based on data from the CPS ASEC. And that CPM extends the official poverty measure by taking into account many of the governmental programs designed to assist low-income families and individuals that are not included in the official measure. So the non-cash benefits, such as housing or nutritional assistance, are added to the pre-tax cash income, while necessary expenses such as taxes, work, medical expenses are subtracted. So the SPM does not replace the official poverty measure and is not used to determine eligibility for governmental programs. So what you're seeing here is showing you that the rates over time for individuals categorized by race and Hispanic groups, or actually I wanted to add that the rates, Okay, SPM rates over time for individuals categorized by race and Hispanic groups between 2018, all major groups shown experienced a decline in poverty. Next slide. So the other major report, aside from the ASEC and that supplemental, the SPM, is the health insurance coverage. So health insurance coverage is an important nation of our nation's overall well-being, whether it's for illness, injury, or preventive needs. Health insurance provides a greater access to medical care. protection from high unexpected costs, and more economic stability. So each year, the Census Bureau provides data on health insurance coverage, and we look at who is and isn't covered, where they live, and what type of insurance they have. So the health insurance estimates released today come from two different surveys. So the CPS ASEC asked people about their health insurance coverage at the time in the previous calendar year, while the ACS is conducted throughout the year and asks people about their coverage at the time they are interviewed. So in the health insurance report, the CPS ASEC provides calendar year coverage estimates at the national level. The ACS is going to give you the change in coverage over time and statistics for states and smaller populations. Next slide. So an estimated 92% of the population had health insurance coverage for some or all of 2019. 8%, or about 26.1 million people, did not have health insurance at any time in 2019. 68% of the people were covered by private health insurance at some point during the year. The percentage of people with coverage was with public coverage was 34.1%. And then looking at the coverage in more detail, employer-based insurance was most common. Next slide. Right, so there we go. Yeah, so looking at the coverage, you can see that employer-based insurance was the most common subtype of coverage overall, covering 56.4% of the population, while 10.2% of the people purchased their coverage directly. And then people who had public coverage for some or all of 2019, Medicare covered 18.1%, Medicaid covered 17.2%, and VA and CHAMPA covered 1%. Next slide. So overall for the U.S., the uninsured rate increased by 0.3 percentage points between 2018 and 2019. But you can see on the map there are differences by state. So between 2018 and 19, the percentage of people without health insurance coverage increased in 19 states, and these states are shaded in orange. So the state of Virginia, which expanded Medicaid eligibility under the ACA in 2019, is the only state that had a decrease in the uninsured rate by 0.9 percentage points. And next slide. And so the overall highlights, as you can see, real median household income increased, poverty rate went down, was 10.5%. It was down to 10.5%, which is 1.3 percentage points from 2018. The supplemental poverty measure in 2019 was 11.7%, and this was a 1% percentage point lower than 18. And then the percentage of people without health insurance coverage for the entire calendar year was 8%, or 26.1 million people. Next slide. So for the full report, and there's a lot of great information, there's tons of graphs, there's tons of charts, there's a lot more information. Definitely click on those links. They're available right now. You can access them immediately, along with all the other America Count stories, fact sheets, blogs, etc. There's lots of great information on the release of these three reports. Next slide. Okay, so now we get into another big release coming this week, which is our 2019 ACS one-year release. And so it is now officially embargoed, so if there's anyone from the media that is on the webinar today, you can go ahead and access the embargo data right now. It will end at 12:01 on September 17th, and that is when that data will be released. So then we will have all that data available. That data will be released between 7 and 10 a.m. The morning of September 17th, and promotions will begin at 10 a.m. Next slide. So the products you'll get on September 17th will be the data profiles, detailed tables, comparison profiles, selected population profiles, subject tables, and summary file. All this data will be available on data.census.gov. My congressional district will be updated with the 2019 one-year estimates as well as quick facts, and the API will be available as well. We will have new visualizations provided along with the data release. Next slide. Some important changes in terms of what's going to impact the data product, relationship to householder. So they are now basically expanding the question on the following categories of opposite-sex spouse, opposite-sex unmarried partner, same-sex spouse, and same-sex unmarried partner. So you can get more information by clicking the link below to see all the different table and geography changes. You can do that now. You can see what changes are forthcoming with the 2019 one-year release. Next slide. Other changes related to categories, you can see that bus or trolley bus has been changed from 2018 to 19 to bus, streetcar, trolley car, subway or elevated rail, subway or elevated rail, long-distance train or commuter, railroad, light rail, streetcar, or trolley, and then work at home to work from home. So those are just some other minor changes. There are a lot of other changes I would consider looking at by clicking on that link previously. Next slide. We do have some new ACS tables, as you can see, households and families, related to the foreign-born population, quality measures, and health insurance. And that link, although it's showing up kind of funny there, when you get this, you should be able to click on that link and get to the new tables information. Next slide. And these are the modified tables showing you the differences from 2018 and 19. And again, I would just recommend that you go and click on that link to see how all those tables have been modified, especially if you're looking at using our API. Next slide. And here you can see just sort of additional modifications to tables. Next slide. And then we do have deleted tables, and once again, the link below will take you to where you can look at the additional changes. Next slide. New geographies. We do have 3 new geographies in Arizona, so that's important to highlight. For American Indian off-reservation trust lands, California and Washington, as well, county subdivisions, 1 new geography in Illinois, and CDPs, 2 new geographies in Florida and Missouri. So boundary changes due to annexation, discorporation, and geocoding updates as well. Again, that link will take you there. Next slide. And just keep in mind, comparing across geographies and population structures using 2019 ACS, you can do that. Compare similar periods of lengths. Always, as a reminder, stick to 1 year to 1 year, 5 year to 5 year, not cross-compare different vintages or different types of data sets, I should say, not vintages. Compare percentages, means, median, and rates instead of totals whenever possible. And, of course, don't expect ACS estimates to match decennial census counts or estimates from other surveys. Next slide. Really just make sure that in regard to the ACS versus CPS, aside from the fact that one goes out to 3.5 million addresses and the other one goes out to, somewhere like 50,000 plus, are sampled in the CPS. It's obviously a much larger survey than ACS is much larger than the CPS. And so it's important to understand those differences. CPS is mainly to provide national estimates, where the ACS is going to give you those subnational estimates when you're looking at data. Next slide. Of course, the website is where you can learn everything there is to know about the American Community Survey. There's also one for the CPS, of course, where you can learn everything there is to know. I highly recommend clicking on About the Survey, because it will give you information related to where you can, if you've never gotten it, received it, and you want to look at it and see how the questions are asked, you can download a copy of the ACS in English and in Spanish for every year going back to 2005 when it was originally implemented. So you can also look at response rates, and look at response rates for every state, for national, going all the way back again to 2005. lots of technical documentation, methodology in regard to sample sizes and how to compare data, et cetera. Next slide. So in regard to that, there is comparison guidance. There's plenty to show you how to do it. You can actually look at comparison guidance for 2019 and every year after as well. So you can look at different topics, click on different topics, and then select what you want to compare it with. There's also a statistical testing tool as well available within the ACS website. Next slide. And we still provide data profile selection tool to make it easy to access our data profiles, very robust data profiles from the ACS. Those 4 characteristics, the major topics of social, economic, housing, demographic, those major characteristics are provided in 4 data profiles. And we still have that selection tool to allow you to look at national, state, city, and county data. If you want to get below county level, below city level, look at zip code or census tract, which is the lowest level that data profiles are provided for, you can go to data.census.gov. That selection tool will connect you to data.census.gov, but only for those previous geographies I mentioned. Narrative profile tool is also still there and still gives you some really nice visualization of the data, similar to what you'd find in a data profile, not as robust, not as much information, but you get a nice sort of broad overview using that narrative profile selection tool, and that does go down to census tract level. Keep in mind, narrative profile uses the 5-year estimate, so that will not be updated until the December release of the ACS. There's also the subject table tool. There's a ranking tool to look at different ACS variables and how they rank by state. So there are some really easy ways to access this data through the ACS website. Next slide. If you want to know what the full schedule release is, you can click on and see the data releases from the ACS with a link below. That'll give you full schedule releases. Next slide. And then this is just a snapshot of what's coming up related to the ACS for the 1-year supplemental, October 15th, and then the 5-year estimates, which will be embargoed beginning on December 8th, and then public release will be on December 10th. Excuse me. The PUMS will be released on October 15th, and that's for the 1-year PUMS, and then the 2015-2019 5-year PUMS will be January 14th. And the various replicate estimates, January 14th for the public release. Next slide. And for those of you that are interested in using our API, you heard me mention it, our application programming interface, the code behind the data to basically create your own tools that look very similar to this, what you see on your screen, you can do so. You can access our API and you can create your own visualizations, your own mobile apps, web pages, whatever you want to do, mapping tools using that API. So the data sets you can get to easily by clicking that link. And then also, if you've never used the API and you want to learn how to use the API, we just had a webinar back in July on how to do so. So I would highly recommend checking out that webinar for demystifying the Census API. And that's through our Census Academy portal. And then lastly, next slide, please. You'll see that we are still collecting stories. So if you are successfully using our ACS and you'd like to share how you're using that data, how you're, if you are using it to get a grant and you successfully get the grant, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear your story, and it doesn't have to be a complete dissertation, but a couple paragraphs, one paragraph, a couple sentences, whatever it may be. I love ACS data. That would be great. But basically share your feedback with us, because then that just helps us to sort of promote that the usage of the ACS. So we really appreciate everyone who uses the ACS to share their story with us. Next slide. And then before I move on to Census Academy, one of the other kind of things coming up happening is Constitution Day. So ACS will be released this Thursday, and we also have Constitution Day on September 17th. And there's some lots of great resources from Stats and Schools where you can on activities that they've just kind of created for 2020 Constitution Day. So there's lots of cool activities. And these are just some of a couple of them that I've shown the fun facts that they have teacher resources, student resources, different activities you can do as well. So this is just a couple that I'm showing you, but there's more information. You can click on that link below for Constitution Day. Next slide. And next slide. And then for those of you that still may not be aware of Census Academy, this is the new portal for hosting webinars, and not just webinars now. We are still doing data gems. We have new data gems that have just been released. We also have courses. We are creating brand new data gems as we speak today. So you look for those. I would highly recommend subscribing to Census Academy so that you can be informed via email when new data gems, new courses, new webinars are going to be released. So we also are looking for feedback. So if you want to share some feedback on what would be a good idea for a data gem, short how-to video on how to access data, or course, sort of a long-form way that we teach people how to use our data, and then, of course, the webinar topics on sort of doing the same thing, but in a much shorter format. So we highly encourage everyone to provide us feedback. We love getting feedback from the data users and any ideas that you may have. So additionally, you can request free training. So if you want free data training from our data dissemination specialists out there, you can go ahead and go to Census Academy, and they're right at the top. There's a button you can click on to request free training. Of course, in-person training right now is suspended until further notice, but we still do a lot of virtual trainings. We do webinars every week, and they don't have to be for groups. They can be one-on-one, what have you. If you just have even data inquiries, use that census.askdata at census.gov. Next slide. And I always like to plug our Tableau public page. Check it out. We've got the Census API extractor tool there. It's still in its beta form. It still has I believe only two vintages of ACS data, but it kind of makes it really easy to access our API using that tool for those vintages that are in there. I believe it will be updated with 2019 when that is released as well. There's lots of other great little visualizations you'll find in other resources like our Stats for Stories and America Counts. A lot of those are created in our Tableau page, and they rest there, but then they get embedded into our stories. Next slide. So also check out interactive maps. We're still updating this page with new interactive mapping tools that we have available. So I encourage you to look at those. Next slide. And then, as I just mentioned, with America Counts and Stats for Stories just released about a dozen or more, I believe more than a dozen stories for all different types of events, like it's National Coffee Day or National Grandparents Day or National Pet Day, Hispanic Heritage Month. All that stuff, all the data related to that we can share is going to be in our Stats for Stories. America Counts will also feature lots of other stories related on current topics and data releases. So I would highly recommend looking at both of those, even our blog, or just checking out the newsroom overall. You can actually subscribe to receive updates on any one of these different topics or a specific topic of your choosing. Next slide. And then, of course, we still are on all the social media platforms, not all of them. We don't have a Snapchat or TikTok yet, so I don't foresee that happening. But we do have a Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube. Highly recommend checking those out. As always, lots of great information is shared. A lot of these visualizations we'll be producing for the ACS will be released via our social media platforms. Next slide. And that, of course, is my contact information, so please feel free to reach out to me if you'd like any free data training, you need assistance accessing census data. Of course, you've got a great FCC resource within your state of Arizona as well. And if nobody is available, you still have a toll-free number and that census.askdata email that you can use to seek out assistance when you need it or have any questions that you need answers to relating to census data. And I know we're out of time and we're over time for our break due to our technical difficulties we had. So, but I'll go ahead and let Alan decide if we want to open it up for questions or if you want to just go jump right to our break.
I don't know.
As I said, since we're kind of on a tight schedule and we did have those interruptions, why don't we go ahead and take our break? But before you go to break, please, if you can take a few minutes, hopefully you've been doing this as it's been going along to, do your evaluation forms. And as always, if you have questions for our presenters, I can get those questions to the presenters and they can get back with you. So we'll go ahead and take our break, and we will come back at 2 minutes after 10. We'll just take a little bit of shorter break, but we'll come back at 10 minutes after 10. So why don't we do that?
On Thursday, and today is the embargo data release.
Okay, thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, thank you very much for presenting to us. We really appreciate it.
Mute on. Mute off.
Those the data points, the numbers are not the same. And in a few years, I had quite a bit of time with the reporters because they were reporting one thing, comparing it with another. So I don't know if we're going to have the same issue. But anyway, the CPS data indicates that the nationally household income increased by 6.8% from 2018 to 2019. So that was pretty good.
That's big.
Yeah, that's huge. And so on Thursday,
I'm pressing resume right now. Go.
Okay. For our last presentation for this session today will be Pauline Núñez, who is the who's the chief of Dissemination Outreach Branch for the Center for Enterprise Dissemination, and she will be speaking on the Data.Census Gov program, the update for that, and also on using the microdata access tool. So, Pauline, thank you very much. Please take it away.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Thanks for having me. I know that everybody's done such a great job in kind of pivoting in a virtual environment. So I wanted to start out with just giving you some updates on data.census.gov. The first is that we have our next code release. That means every 2 months we try to send some code updates that we've done in our last 2 months of a build. And the big focuses are what we're getting prepared for our spring 2021 for the Decennial 2020 data releases. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Also, we're having search by web pages. So that's one of our keys to the integrate with census.gov. You know, that's the bigger picture. It's not just going to data.census.gov instead of going to AFF. It's going to a new platform that will allow all of the to be all of the information on census.gov to be searchable, and that's not just these web pages on census.gov, but then also all of those individual data points that we have on data.census.gov. And then also addressing some other data user feedback that we've gotten from AFF. Quickly, just some statistics on our AFF aftermath since we shut down AFF on March 30th. And so we've definitely seen a significant increase in the number of site visits, page views, user feedback, all of that since April. Definitely had a peak in April, and then we've declined slowly within the summer. Definitely not as many people in the summer, people on vacations, and definitely in August. Checked back with AFF. This is all kind of on par with what they saw, so we feel pretty good about that. One thing is the majority of the feedback continues to be complaints. People don't like a new system. We're doing our best to make sure that people know how to do it, how to use things. So we're getting really, really close with the amount of questions to complaints. And a lot of complaints are within questions as well, but we really want to be true and transparent to all of those things. People not super happy, but they're getting better. So in April, we are sitting about 66% of people not happy. A lot of it is no matter how much we messaged, there's still going to be people that are going to be surprised when they come in and they see, well, what happened? Where's AFF? And so things have kind of leveled off a little bit. We only have, gone 20 percentage points down into August, where it's kind of more like the 46%. Obviously we hope that continues to go down as we outreach and reach more people, as well as build more and get back to where people have expected the functionality and features of AFF, but then also with all of those other extra things that we're trying to do with integration with census.gov. Also, another point is that social media is definitely less than 10% of our feedback, but since it's so public, we're definitely trying to grab those as soon as possible and try to, make sure that things aren't as negative as anything. It's really so much nicer when people send emails because we can really engage with them and show them how to use the site. So we always encourage people, if you're stuck, if you don't know what to do or you just can't find the data, please just send us an email at sudside.feedback@census.gov. We would be more than happy to help you. We know that you're being put in a bad situation as far as trying to get the data, and maybe there's some workarounds. But I appreciate you sticking with us because we know that, the end result is something we really think is a much better user experience for all of us. And, but as we're having our struggles to get there, we hope that you will stick with us. All right, so next is our top 10 feedback. And hold on, I thought I had logged off of this. Let me do this really quickly, I'm sorry. And that was, I'm sorry, okay. Here, so our user feedback, what we've taken is the top 10 feedback from April and August. So really kind of looking at what we've done since AFF has been decommissioned and kind of pulled this all out. So we had close to 5,000 feedback, the individual feedback from all different areas, from calls to emails to social media. And this is kind of how we synthesized this down. So about 63% of everything that we heard from people really can be put into top 10 things that people really want to see. Really good news to know that that's really focused in, allows us to really focus in on what the majority of the people are asking for and are looking for. And so that's just wanted to show you some of those things and how we're kind of integrating it with what we're doing in our builds. So data availability, we're always trying to get that migrated data over from AFF. We're really close to finishing, but we have to get different levels of approval and before we can get it out the door. And this is a 2020 year, so we're trying to get our data providers to finish reviewing those so they can be released. But the breakdown of data availability, just navigation issues, people, it's a new site, this doesn't work, that kind of works. Any specifics people can give us is always great to hear. Same with filtering, so definitely a different user experience. Download is a big one that we're trying to work on with 2020 census. It's one thing to make sure that we have, download capabilities available. And then as you get bigger and bigger, and especially when you're talking about, all blocks in Texas, which is what we need to have available for when those 2020 numbers come out, those are things that we're building right now. And of course, the rest of the data will benefit from it, but things that we're working on always is something with performance. No matter how much we improve and build and add hardware, that is something we'll be continuing to do. So performance will always be on the list. Those pseudo-geographies are those one-click collections of geographies. Printing, we know we have some different options, but it may not be 100% what people are looking for, so it's still on there. Address search, we have a geocoder and a workaround, but people want something integrated with the site. Search relevancy, something that we're working on to always make it more stronger to what data are available and what's most appropriate to pop up. And then I mentioned the website relevancy. That's kind of what we're focusing on, and we should have the that what we call unstructured content, which is just web pages that are being searched through the census.gov web pages, and have those returned in that October release as well. And then mapping. People really love great mapping. And when we have defects, that's the kind of thing that people are like, yeah, I would love it so much more if it worked better. So I'm liking to see these kind of incremental improvements. So I hope you go and check out data.census.gov. If you have any questions, please let me know or send something to subsite.feedback@census.gov. But what I really wanted to focus on was our microdata access. So what this tool is, we call it kind of internally MDAT, but what this is, it's a replacement for Data Ferret. So we decommissioned Data Ferret in 2019. There was still some browsers available. It was a plug-in issue that the browser stopped supporting it. So it's still around, and maybe you're one of those lucky few that still had it. But we have formally decommissioned it, and then we've created this tool. Now, this tool doesn't necessarily disseminate the data. Basically, it has the PUMS data, or public use microdata, available to it, and that instead of having to program that data and slice and dice it, this kind of helps you do this as well. So that's kind of what Data Ferret did. It's what we're doing, and we're trying to hopefully integrate this more into data.census.gov. Our phase 1 of development is finished. We still have some things that definitely could be improved upon, but we have worked to that data in migration, trying to make sure that all of the data that were previously in Data Ferret are available in MDAT. And then we're moving into phase 2, which is really kind of search, integrating our code base, and then also integrating search. So when someone searches for something like poverty, we don't just offer them up the poverty tables from ACS. We would offer them up also different options of their poverty data and microdata access. If you can't find it through this table, how about you are welcome to make your own customized table. But a few things about the microdata before you go out and just start creating your own estimates. Let's find out a couple of little things that are, I guess they're big things to be aware of. What does public use microdata mean? It means that it's confidential, that there are no personal identifiable information attached to it, and then it's accessible. So areas that we have it on our site at data.census.gov/MDAT. We also have it in the API. And then it's also downloadable through the FTP sites. And then the individual responses. So what microdata are individual cases. So it's not an aggregate, which is what your tables are. It's the individual cases of what somebody has answered. Now, of course, we've talked about it. It's not, confidentiality has been protected. So there's certain rules and things that are available from it. But that's basically what this is. So you can't really do much with individual case, case information. You need to tabulate it into something. So, and weighted, of course. Let's go into that in a minute. All right, so just a quick example is that if we're looking at the tabulated data, this gives data for 2016 Louisiana, and it has approximately 18,459 males that worked in the computer and mathematical occupations. However, what if you wanted to dig a little deeper and find that specific occupation code for web developer? So this is the estimate that you can create using the public use microdata, and the MDAT helps you do that for males in Louisiana that are web developers. So that's just a little bit of the nuances. It's definitely higher level roll-ups for the tabulated data, and then you can dig a little bit deeper with the microdata. But the geographies are limited. There's always a give and take, right? So for the ACS, you have nation, region, division, you have state, and what we call PUMAs. We'll talk about that in a second. CPS, you're really only looking at nation, state, and county for some of them, but basically nation and state. Now, we talked about PUMAs. So PUMAs are predetermined and predefined areas of about 100,000 in population. definitely comes from suggestions from the state of where those pumas should be. They're identifiable. They're in many of the metro areas, not all. And then they're nested within state. They do cover the entire nation, and that they're defined after the census. So we'll have new definitions after the 2020 census. And then the tracts and counties are building blocks. So a couple ways to do this. You can choose your MDAT through our geography, you can choose your pumas through our geography dropdown, but then you can also visualize it through the Tiger Web, which is tigerweb.geo. Kind of a shorter presentation, so I didn't want to get into all of that, but if you have questions, let us know and we can help you out if you're looking for being able to choose them through Tiger Web. So some microdata access basics we kind of talked about. So only use this tool if there are not pre-tabulated census tables available. So if there's something that's been released for that area, you don't want to go ahead and tabulate yourself because the data that are released on data.census.gov, what were tabulated by ACS or some of the other surveys, are based on the full sample, and it's based on their, replicate weights. It's definitely, the precision is definitely there, and so just being aware for that. Also, if you're looking for something like tracts, you're not going to find it. You're definitely going to have to roll up and look at larger geographies. Maybe a PUMA works. Maybe it's easier to do a state, or even in some cases, you just want the U.S. And then just to be aware, this is definitely different than going through and looking through tables. So I just like to give people an awareness that this is at the variable level, so that the program and survey have data dictionaries that might really help you. We have some definitions that are kind of embedded in the MDAT when you have one of the variables comes up. But if you have additional questions, it's always good to kind of reach out to those survey areas. And if they have a data dictionary available, that's always a great thing. All right, so I wanted to demo a few things for you. So first, I just wanted to talk just an example of the female Hispanic population, 50 and over, in Arizona. So the first thing we always do is to go in and we check the table and make sure there's not something already pre-tabulated. So we wanted 50 and over. They choose their age categories, in groups differently. So those, it's only 45 to 54, doesn't give us what we want. This is an excellent way or example for how we should use the MDAT. So let me go here. And go here. All right. So I started on the MDAT page. I wanted to show you really, really quickly. You can go directly to data.census.gov/MDAT. You can also just do data.census.gov, and if you scroll down, you'll see MDAT here, so explore microdata. So if you click that, so my question was the female Hispanic population, 50 and over, in Arizona. So I'm just going to go ahead and use ACS one-year estimates, but this is where you can choose your data set. So you can definitely go in and choose 1 year or 5 year. You can use that's how the ACS is released, in 1 year or 5 year. The 5 year definitely gives you a more robust, it's a much bigger file, but some people just like the timeliness, just like the estimates of the 1 year when you can use them. And then we also have CPS, the March supplement. This is the release that's coming next Tuesday to go along with the data release that was here, the CPS release today. And so the poverty time series is released through the API now, and then the ASIC March supplement will be available on Tuesday. And then all the individual CPS, there's a lot of them, all of the different supplements that they have. We're still working on the migration of some of the other decennial data and of course approval. And then there's some smaller ones like SIP data and other things that we're waiting for. So I can show you if we have time that on our resource page, we have a section called about the transition from data ferret, and it gives you a list of what data sets are still waiting, are still available. So just for time's sake, we're just going to use the 1 year 2018. Go ahead and click next. All right. And so from here, like I said, it's variable based. So this may seem very overwhelming to people, but don't let it discourage you. Show you some ways to access this. So a couple things. We need female and Hispanic population 50 and over in Arizona. So we need age variable, we need a sex variable, and we need Hispanic. Okay, so I'm seeing age right here, so I'm going to go ahead and select it just to make that easy. It lets you know that it's a continuous variable, so that means you're just going to have to do some work with the recode, but that's okay. Then Hispanic. So I know that Hispanic variable is HISP, so you could type it here, or you can type a word that's in the label, like Hispanic, and that will come up. So then I just look, I can see it, I can select it, or I can look at the detail and see what's available. Going in, yes, that's what I want. And I've checked it, so I can go to the next one. It does kind of a little bit off-putting to me because you don't feel like something has been added right here at the bottom to the, like it does in data.census.gov, to kind of have a basket, so that filter area is not there. But just be aware it does populate within the data cart, but always something that might be helpful to put as feedback. Okay, and then the last thing we need, we have age, Hispanic, we need sex. So from here, choose our sex variable, the data cart's increased. Let's go to select categories. We wanted to look at Arizona, so you go to state, choose Arizona, and that surprisingly does populate down here, but the variables don't, so just be aware. All right, and then I'm going to go back to data cart. So a few things. First of all, sex. That's the easy one. So we'll just go here. The only one that we want is female, so we're going to click that. For Hispanic, all of these are the components that make up Hispanic in our recode. So I want everything, but I don't want the not Hispanic. I don't want the inverse of it. So I'm going to uncheck that. And you don't need to create a custom group, which is really nice, I think. Then you go to age, and you are going to have to create a custom group. So, but it's not too bad. So let's go ahead and create a custom group. And then we wanted 50 and over. So we're going to use this little slider bar and go up to 50. See how, there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and change it to 50 plus right here in the group label. And then I'm going to save the group. And then I have the inverse. So I have everything that's not 50 plus. So I'm going to edit that, and I'm just going to put under 50. And save the group. All right, so I've done that. Now, next I go to table layout. So there's a prescribed way of looking at the table that they have put here. But I'm a follower of how the Census Bureau has always done their tables, and that's how I'm always used to having geographies at the top. So I put geographies in the column. So I'm going to move geographies up here. Actually going to add Hispanic, or I'm going to move sex down to the rows. And the nice thing is that you can look and be like, that doesn't really look like what I want, and move it around. And then for for the Hispanic recode, I'm actually going to put it as part of the table because that's really what we want in the end. We just want the final the final result. We just want people who are Hispanic to begin with. So it's isolating the universe to begin with. So look here, and we put count. And then I go up here, and you can view table. And there it gives you a result. And all the information here is really, really nice. It gives you a person weight, so it applies it yourself. You know, with Data Ferret, you had to choose, and for some people that's easy, and some people it's not. And so it just gives you could change it if you wanted to. You could do unweighted if you wanted to. But we're going to go ahead and put a person weight, so if you wanted to use that number. So from here, one last thing to show you is that you can go in and download it. If you wanted to go to download the CSV, and then click on download, and then you can pull up there from there, or you can bookmark it. So just showing you some things that you can do. All right, now I'm going to show you a next example and see if that works for you. So from here, you can do a couple things. You can kind of clear it by going to the logo, and it'll take you right back to the site. So we can go down again, go to Explore Microdata. And I'm going to give you an example of a CPS example since it's so timely right now. Wanted to show you one about that. So let's go back to our slide deck really quickly. I'll actually, since I have so many of these hidden, let me just show you really quickly. Our next question is the number of insured people ages 40 and over, uninsured, people ages 40 and over in the United States. All right, so with that, because it's the United States, we know that the CPS is the official estimates for the United States, so this is a great reason to use that. Go back into MDAT, do the select data set, and I'm going to go to that March supplement we talked about for CPS. The latest is 2019, so I'm going to go to next. All right, so what it was 40 and over. I always forget my examples exactly, so it's always nice to have this right here. So uninsured 40 and over. Okay, so let's go back to, there we go. All right. So we talked about age. So we can put in the age variable, or you can type in age, even though it shows it right here. And then we can make sure it's what we want. Yes, it's that same slider where we can choose our age range. So we clicked that. Second thing that we wanted was health insurance. Oops. Health insurance. So there's a couple of them. So family amount paid, offer, employer offer, health insurance plan. And you can always go in and check and see if that's what you're looking. COV, the COV, any health insurance coverage last year. Look at the details. Yes or no. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. I'm going to go to select geographies to just let you know. So there is a default if you don't choose geographies, and it just goes to the U.S. I don't think it's super intuitive, and I'd like to be able to select something, so I'm just giving you an awareness. So since it's the default, we've already done that. So we're going to go to the data cart. I'm going to go to COV. And then I'm going to take out infant born after calendar year because we need the entirety of someone stating whether they have or have not, do or do not have coverage. So I'm going to select that. Then I'm going to go to the age and do the same thing that I did before, where I created a custom. So we did 40 and over. Oops, 40 and over. I'm going to go ahead and do 40 plus. Save group. And then go ahead and edit. You don't have to, but I'd prefer to have my labels make sense to me, so I don't know what I'm doing. when I come back and look at this, and I just stare at it. So, okay, from here, all right, so we've put in those things. Let's look at our table layout. And the nice thing, again, like I said, is that you don't have to do it the way that I'm doing the tables. You can do it whichever way you'd prefer and makes the most sense. You know, the nation is already there. What would you like to do with, you can do the column. You can do cov for the column. It's already in there. For the row, you can put in the age variable. Oops, get this one. There we go. Well, I don't know why. There we go. So it's all trial and error. It doesn't play nice with me either sometimes. So it's not just you if you do have some issues. So from here, it looks like health insurance. It gives us our age. It gives us yes or no. We know that it's nation. That's already built into our universe. Let's go ahead and get a count. And then we can view table from here. And these are the numbers of 40 plus, of people with health insurance or uninsured, and from there, yes or no, the yes being they're covered and the no that they're not. So again, it gives you an automatic weight, but you can mess around with that if you wanted to. And then it kind of shows you where everything is, and then I always like to check out the universe just to see. All right. If we have time, I'll go ahead and give you another example or two. I guess it just depends if there's any, any questions we can go, but if not, I'll just keep showing you some examples. I think one of the big things with the MDAT system or this microdata access tool is that you can see this, and it's great to have the slides, which, we'll send you, and it's the screen by screen. That's always great to have, but you really have to kind of go in there and play with it for it to really make some sense. So definitely encourage you to do that and let us know what you think. It's the same kind of thing that we're doing with data.census.gov. We're building as we go in those 2-month spurts and cycles, all based on user feedback. So anything that you do tell us, we definitely try to bake it into what we're doing with the development. Part of why we haven't seen things so quickly is just because there's so much to do. And as y'all all know, census data are not easy. They're not easy to understand. We have so many geographies. We have so much data, and just trying to make sure that that's done accurately and appropriately. It just takes some time, but we do definitely want to give you all those things that you did love about AFF, and hopefully you're seeing some things that you didn't see before but you do like. All right. So let me go ahead and clear it. I clicked on the imaginary logo that wasn't there, but I knew it was there because I had that little beta sign. So another a little defect that we can add to it. But going the same way, I can just go ahead and do MDAT from here. Oops, sorry. Data.census.gov /MDAT. So from here, you can go in and again, we can choose different years or whatever kind of data set you are, but again, for time, we'll just go ahead and do the easiest, the easiest being just using the ACS 1 year since it's available here, and just show you a few more things. Oops, I didn't ask you the question first yet. Okay, here, so that was demo 2. Let's go to the third one really quickly. Okay. So this is pretty timely. The work from home for detailed industry in Arizona. Please note this is not the current status of COVID-related work from home. These are people who, as far as when they're doing their commuting, whether they're commute or not, that they, are at home, and their headquarters is at work, or excuse me, at home. By detailed industry in Arizona, it's actually one that we get quite a bit with detailed industry, so we wanted to be able to show you how to do that. So as we mentioned first, we go in and make sure that we've seen the table. This is a work from home by industry table, and if you look, there's a work from home, and it just gives you the roll-up. This is just to show you it's going to give you the roll-up. It's not going to give you this hundreds of different, I think it's 500 different occupations that are pulled up, but, you know, if people want it, that's great. We can do that, and that makes it a great opportunity to use the MDAT. Okay. So we talked about working from home by industry, and we just want it for detailed industry, and then we want to do Arizona. Okay. So work from home is a commuting variable. So if we do things like commute, it doesn't always come up. So we'd have to do maybe work. So work helps. So that's one of the reasons why it really helps to have a data dictionary. Some people don't necessarily equate working from home as being kind of a journey to work or commuting variable, but it is. It's part of this travel, of the transportation to work. So let's check it out. If we go to the details, it is either not universe or the car, trolley, subway, move down, all the way down to worked at home. So that's definitely the one that we need. Let me go ahead and click it. But my point was that it's not always, if you say commuting, you might have to adjust your words a little bit, or like I said, for this case, go check out ACS and their data dictionary. It might help you a little bit. Okay, so we did that. Did well, work from home, and then the next one we're just going to do industry. All right, so this is the industry recode for 2000 and later based, INDP. I'm going to look, and this shows a lot of what we are looking for. This has the 271 variables. I'm pretty sure this next one, they did this recode, but I'm pretty sure this next one too is the official NAICS recode. Will probably give you the same thing, but since it's already been a recode within ACS, I'm going to go ahead and choose it from there, the INDP. So we have those two variables in the data cart. I'm going to go to select geographies. We said it was from Arizona, so I'm going to go ahead and do Arizona again. And then I'm going to go back to the data cart. So what we wanted was, we didn't want all of these different characteristics. We just wanted work from home. So I'm going to uncheck everything, click on worked at home. And then for the industry, we can go ahead and choose which one you're looking for and kind of slice and dice it. Or you can go ahead and choose everything and see, because you know there's going to be, especially with work at home, there's that's definitely a smaller percentage of how people are employed or how their work status at home, and so there's probably going to be a lot of zeros. But just being aware. One of the nice things too is that since it's kind of easy to create, you can see and be like, that's not really what I want. Maybe I'm really focusing more in on retail, and then really kind of looking at it through there. However you want to do it. All right, so I'm going to go geographies because I like my geographies in the column. And then for the rows, I'm going to keep the industry at the rows, and then the work from home. That seems right. And then the journey to work, I'm actually going to take off the table, because that's really all we wanted. We just wanted people, we wanted to restrict the universe to just people who worked from home. So in Arizona, we have the selection of account, and then we can view table. So definitely seeing down, same thing with the person weight. Things are available. We can scroll down and see there's lots of things that are zeros, but are what are available. And this is when you might, the data may inform you a little better where you want to drill down or what you're looking for. But just showing you a few different options. And the last one, if we have a minute, I can show you a final example, and it's restricting the poverty rate using the ACS table. So from here, so poverty by single year of age for children under 18 in the Phoenix Pumas. So that's a few things. So I wanted to show you, let me go back to my site. I'm going to click that on, and I want to just scroll down and just choose microdata. And then from here, go ahead and do the same thing. You can always choose a different year, but just for time's sake. And then from here, we know a few things. So we want single year of age, so we want to choose age. We know that. We also want poverty. Now, poverty, we can see what we get when we just say poverty. Poverty is not necessarily a variable that's collected, but it does become a variable based on the income data through a recode. So when we look at, this gives us those percentages of poverty that we can work with. So from here, let's click on that. And then single year, age, poverty, children over 18. I think we're good with that. And then go into select geographies. Now this is a way that you can look at the geographies. You're going to click on Pumas. You can go to Arizona. And then they've done a pretty good job of showing you where the geographies are available based on their location. If you're looking at Maricopa, you know, obviously there's a lot. You can look specifically at some, you know, just pull up a few for Phoenix. Or, and this is also some place if you wanted to use, like I said, the Tiger Web Services to look specifically at the Pumas you're looking at. But this gives you some, you know, just by the names, you know, sometimes this gives you a better idea as well. So something you can look at. So I'm going to go to the data chart. And I'm going to choose the below, actually I can just do the age. And I'm going to choose the under 1 year. Oh, wait, excuse me. Let me create a custom age group. I'm going to do under 1 year and save the group. And then I'm going to do the edit the group, and I'm going to do 1 through 18, save the group, and make sure that the elsewhere is above 18 plus, I guess. 18 plus. I guess we should have edited this to probably 17, right? Probably what we want. And then save group. And then we have the under 1 there. And then we have elsewhere classified. We can go ahead and say above group. We want to redefine it. And then we can auto group. So this is the nice thing. When you're looking at this, you can do an auto group when you look at, oh gosh, it's not working for me right this second. So let me see. Maybe I messed it up. So let's do a cancel. And let's start all over again because this just didn't work for me. So let's go to the age and select all of them and create custom group. Oops. And then we can do an 18 and plus. Oh, this is poverty. Okay. You know what? I hope I'm confusing y'all as much as I'm confusing myself. Sorry about that. All right, I clicked the wrong one. So let's just do poverty since we're here. So, so we've done the poverty recode. Oops. All right. So let's just start fresh. I'm confusing everybody, including myself. So let's go from here. And so we want to check NA, and then we want to do poverty, which is 0 to 100%. And then create custom group. And then we can go in poverty and then save group. And then we can go to the age and we can do single years. We do our age custom group. I'll have to go back and make sure we're not having any issues with it. So we want to do, actually we want to do 18 and over. Oops, sorry. 18 and over. And then we want to save group. Then we want to do an auto group. So we want to do an individual year, groups of one ends it. So it allows for each individual age to come up from here. So again, and I know my time's running out, so I just wanted to show you really quickly. You're looking at the two Pumas, and you do the same thing where you move things around. We could put the geography at the column or any which way you want to do it, and then put the age within the row, see if that makes sense to you, and then we can go in and we can do the average, but that wouldn't really count. It makes sense, so we want to do a count, and then we load it from there. So just giving you some options, and I'm sorry I kind of bumbled through that. We can definitely go over it slower, and you'll have the slides if you have a chance. But definitely wanted to end it with those examples, letting you get a chance to at least see where these things are, and encourage you to go and check things out. Would be really great for you to go in and see how it kind of applies to you in your life. And then just go ahead and provide us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. Also, another way of hearing feedback is that we have a new survey that's available to get kind of a satisfaction. What can we help you with survey on data.census.gov? So we'd be delighted if you'd go in and take our survey for us and give us some really great feedback. And then also if you have any other questions, we have a resource page as well as Census Academy with information, and there's our information for stud site feedback. And from there, I wanted to wrap it up, but we can definitely have questions or if there's anything on your end.
If anyone has any questions, regarding either the MDAT or data.census.gov, this would be a great time to ask Kayleen. So please feel free to unmute your phone and ask away. I know some of you are using data.census.gov in your work, so if you have any issues that you've run into, should be the person that you could ask.
Sure. Yeah, it might be, MDAT's definitely something that you have to go and play with. But if you have anything about data.census.gov, let me know, or if it comes to you, let me know.
If you think of something later, again, if you want to send your question to me, I will be working on getting all of these presentations posted on our web. So you'll have that you should be able to contact Pauline, or you can send your question to me and we can get it to her as well. But since she's here, this would be a great time if anybody has any questions.
Hey, Alan, this is Jim again. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I was in another meeting and I kept this line open. I don't know if you guys heard me talk over the other meeting, but if you did, I apologize. I feel so terrible about that. But anyway, so my question is for Kenyon. So for zip code data, the other day I was trying to get zip code demographic profiles for all the zip codes in Arizona, and I was playing around. I was not able to do that. I was able to get all the zip codes for the entire nation, and then from there, using another data set, I was able to select Arizona. But is there a direct way to get all the zip codes for Arizona or any other state?
So that was one of the things that we're working on, and actually I am hoping that we have available for October release is that are what we call those pseudo-geographies, which are collections of geographies. We actually don't define zip codes by state at the Census Bureau. It's not something that, it's not necessarily state dependent. It can go over state lines. So this was something that AFS did. They created a ton of these, defined geography collections that are these easy one-click to get them. But, we're and then now we're having to kind of figure out how to create them, especially since they don't come directly from geography. So you are not crazy. That we can talk offline about some ways of working around that. You can definitely download the whole site, all of the zip codes, and then we have kind of a lookup file to show you. It's not ideal. We know it. We cannot wait until we have those collections by state, because that's what people are asking the most for, zip codes by state. So you're not missing anything. It's just an unfortunate thing that we haven't been able to finish yet.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Connie, I have a question about are there still issues with this is regarding data.census.gov with it not either holding on to selected variables or backing out of selected variables? Is there still issues with that?
Right. So
not all the time, but just every now and then. I see.
Well, especially you kind of see it within advanced search, right?
Right.
We had to work around. Well, you actually see it the most when you're trying to prescribe a table ID. If I just put in poverty, one of the subject tables is going to come up first, the S1701, but maybe I want, B17001, right?
Right.
And if you put in all your geographies and you get, your 7 counties that you want, when you, through the advanced search, you lose it because this single search and our advanced search are separate. And so what we've done is we've added this bar right here, B17001, that you can type it in, but then you can go to your geographies, and then you can choose multiple things, a couple of counties, and not losing it, and then search from there. Oops, sorry. And then it gives you the table that you're looking for, and that gives you the counties that you're looking for. But once you click right here, it would so you can go. It would delete all of your geographies. But we've tried to add the geographies in here so that you can do a different. to keep the geographies, but then change the release. And it doesn't always work that way. And so I always tell people it's kind of in the way. So it's almost there. So I just tell people to go back here and then change your geography on this advanced search page and go ahead and search. And then that'll keep your geographies. So it's close. I'm trying to show you how it's still kind of broken when you do that, but kind of the direction we're trying to get to. But that's a good workaround.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good question, Ellen. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any more questions? Anyone have anything if they want to give training? And if not, I guess we can go ahead and adjourn just a few minutes early. But before we do that, we want to thank all of our presenters today, Ms. Pauline Núñez, Mr. Eric Coyle, and of course, Ms. Connie Reese. Thank you all for presenting to us. We really appreciate the information that you gave us today. And I wanted to also remind everyone that we will be meeting again tomorrow at 9 a.m. looking at the economic side of the Census Bureau with Miss Erlene Dowell will be looking at the LEHD, Longitude Employer Household Dynamics Program, and Mr. Andrew Haight will be talking to us about the economic census data, the 2017 economic census data, and the programs that are related. Some of them like the Census Business Builder and those type of programs. And so that'll be a very interesting 2 hours tomorrow as well. And I will give just a brief and so look forward to that tomorrow. Again, thank you for attending today, and we hope that you gain some valuable information that you can take back and apply to the work that you're doing. And we hope to see you back here tomorrow. And so we'll go ahead and finish, go ahead and adjourn for today. And I just wanted to remind before everyone leaves that, we really would appreciate getting your evaluations. So please make sure that you hold on to those and fill the other part of it tomorrow so that we can get that information that will really help us here at the State Data Center. So we'll go ahead and adjourn at 11:06 now, just a few minutes early, but I know people have things to do. So once again, thank you all very much, and we'll see you back here at 9 o'clock tomorrow for our second and final session. Thank you very much. And thank you, Barb, for being our host. I guess you're not in D.C., but your area where you are, none of us are where we normally are. Thanks, Barbara. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
You're welcome, Alan.
Thanks, Barb.